All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to look at something pretty amazing, a story that connects the distant past. I'm talking the American Revolution with the absolute latest in artificial intelligence. It's this incredible journey of turning dusty old facts into a story that feels, well, alive.
And it all kicks off with this simple, really powerful exchange. Just imagine that for a second. A soldier, exhausted from his journey, finally home. His family there to meet him. This one moment, that's the real heart of the story we're exploring. So where are we? We're in Westminster, Massachusetts. It's May of 1775. The American Revolution has just kicked off with the battles of Lexington and Concord, and you can just feel the tension and the uncertainty in the air.
Okay, so let's really dive into this. We're going to imagine the homecoming of a real person, a man named Sergeant Norman Seaver, who found himself right in the middle of these huge, world-changing events.
So picture this. The door to the farmhouse creaks open. In walks Norman. His coat is covered in dust, his boots are caked in mud, and he's holding the musket he's been carrying for weeks. And right away, his wife Sarah and all their children are there, just surrounding him, their eyes filled with a million questions.
And when his daughter Sally asks him, were you scared? Norman gives this incredible answer. It just says so much about that moment in history. It wasn't just fear that was driving people. It was this deep, simmering anger, a sense of real injustice.
As he continues his story, you realize just how unglamorous this all was. I mean, he talks about marching with 30 guys from his town, sleeping outside in a field near Cambridge with nothing but a blanket, on the damp ground. They spent their time drilling with muskets, but they didn't even get into a direct fight with the British this time around. And for food, we're talking hard biscuits, dried beef. This was not some glorious adventure. This was tough, cold, hard work.
And the story ends with his youngest son, Hetman, asking a child's simple question, "Did you win?" Norman's answer, wow. It's just full of exhaustion, but also this deep, profound hope. He knows this is just the beginning of a long fight, but he also knows it's a fight that matters. It's a really moving story, right? It just feels so authentic, so human. Which, of course, brings us to a huge question. Who in the world actually wrote this? Seriously, think about it. Who could take just the basic facts of a soldier's life from over 200 years ago and spin it into something so compelling? Well, get ready for a twist. This was not written by a gifted historian. It was written by an artificial intelligence. I'm not kidding. This entire heartfelt story was generated by a large language model, an AI named Claude, from a single simple instruction.
So how on earth is that possible? How do you go from a bunch of dry historical records to a piece of fiction that can actually make you feel something? Let's pull back the curtain and see how it was done. Everything started with a genealogist named Randy Seaver. And yes, he's actually Norman's 5th great-grandson. Randy had all the facts you see here. Names, dates, his role in the militia, the names of his wife and kids. All really important stuff, but, it doesn't really tell you the story. So with those facts in hand, Randy gave the AI this incredibly simple prompt. That's it. He just asked it to write a short story about Norman's homecoming, and he provided the names and ages of the family members to give it some context. And when you look at it, the whole process is pretty straightforward. It really boils down to 4 steps. First, you gather your facts. Then you figure out what you want to do. In this case, imagine a human story. Third, you write a clear prompt. And finally, you let the AI do its thing and generate the narrative, creatively filling in all those gaps. But hold on. Why was the story so good? It wasn't just a list of facts put into sentences. It was genuinely creative. So let's dig into what the AI was actually doing on a creative level to make the story work. So what's in the AI's toolkit here? Well, it wasn't just repeating information. It was adding sensory details, like the smoke from the hearth or the dusty coat. It was writing dialogue that felt real and emotional. It even understood something as complex as the motivation of anger being stronger than fear. And it built the whole thing to a really powerful thematic ending. It basically acted like a pretty good writer. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Randy Seaver himself, the guy whose family this is, the one who knows the history better than anyone, he called the AI story inspiring, touching, and heartfelt. The technology managed to create a real, genuine emotional connection. That's huge.
An experiment like this really just blows the doors open on what's possible. I mean, we're really looking at a brand new way for all of us to connect with our family history, with genealogy, with our past.
Randy Seaver came up with the perfect analogy for this. He said using these AI tools is basically like hiring a gifted writer who's on call 24/7, ready to turn all your research, all those names and dates into stories that people actually want to read.
At the end of the day, that's the real magic here. We now have this incredible new tool that helps us cross the bridge from, dry records on a page to the living, breathing, complicated people who came before us. It makes history personal again.
Which really brings me to a final question for you. We all have those stories, right? Ancestors who are just a name in a record book or a face in a faded photo. If you had this tool at your fingertips, what story from your own past would you bring to life?